What's up, YouTube? Today we're finally going to be putting back together the GSR engine that we took apart about 2 weeks ago, and we have everything ready right here on the table. As you can see, we have everything right here on this table. We have gaskets. This is the header gasket, the intake manifold gasket, the head gasket, the valve cover gasket, the oil pan gasket. We have a new timing belt, cam seals. This is an idle air control. We have a new head bolt, new water pump, main bearings, oil pump. We have the rod bearings, the piston rings. We have a fuel rail, injectors. These are not new. Fuel line. What is this? The fuel pressure regulator. And yeah, we're about to get started. As you can see, this is the same B18c1 block that we had. It has been honed, decked, and cleaned. The first step would be to clean everything. Make sure you have everything clean from any like dust particles, any metal shavings from the machine shop, anything. You must have everything really clean to avoid any problems when assembling the engine.
Switch it up. Switch it up.
Listen to me now. Listen to me now.
We also got some thrust washers from King. That's a part number right there, brand new. And when you install them, these little grooves right here, and both of them, they go pointing towards the crank. So like this against the crank, like that. So after you have everything cleaned, the first step is to assemble we'll put the crank with the main caps and torque them down with the new bearings. This is how you torque them down. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And since I have the engine backwards, I was torquing it down like this. The first step on the right here, it says main bearing cap bolts. Step 1, B18B1, B18C1, and B18C5. And that's 22 foot-pounds. And then step 2 for B18C1 and B18C5. Well, all of them, B16A2 through B18C5. Cap number 1 and number 5 goes to 56, which is cap number 1, and cap number 5 on the clutch side, and the oil pump side. And then caps 2, 3, and 4, they only go to 49, which is cap 2, 3, and 4. So basically the center ones, they go to 49, and the ones on the outside go to 56. After you're done installing your crank and torquing it down, you have to install the pistons. Well, the piston rings on the pistons first. I have the pistons right here cleaned, and we're ready to install the piston rings. And after that, you use your tool, piston ring compressor. I got this 81 millimeter piston ring compressor tool. Just kind of put it right here, put the piston in, and then just hammer it in with this part of the hammer. Already got the first rod with piston torqued down, and let's do the rest. So right here it shows you how the oil rings go, or the piston rings. The oil ring spacer is D, that one goes in the middle, and then the two oil rings, the top and bottom, go like that. E is the compression ring, and A is the second compression ring, and B is the top compression ring. And then the little arrow is pointing towards the oil pump. This little arrow, and then the oil pump goes on this side. So you have your piston like this. The oil ring should be right here. A should be right here on this valve, and B should be right here. So it's like this. This opening goes on this valve. And then you grab your piston rings, the oil rings, and then you put one under that spacer, around right here, and then the second one on top of the spacer around here. Got that piston ring gap right there, and then the other one should go like kind of where this line is. And then you grab the bag, or one of the rings from bag number 2, and that goes on B. So the arrow is pointing this way, and B goes around here, the gap of the piston ring. So grab it, and then remember this ring has a mark. Focus. Right there, see it says top. The gap goes right here. Arrow, and then B. Arrow, B on the second groove. And then you grab the one that says top 1. And this one also has a marking that says top. And that one should be where the letter A is. So you see the arrow, the letter A is around where this valve groove is. So there's the arrow, and there's the groove, the piston ring gap. And that's it. Just kind of put oil around it. Use the piston ring compressor tool and stick it in. Oh, and when you stick it in, make sure the crank is at the lowest position, so the bolts on the rod won't scratch the crank. Just grab oil. Lube it up, the whole lube it up. With the 2 fingers. Or 3, but I like using 2. And this is to, since the oil pump isn't installed and there's no oil in the engine, you don't want to run or move the piston rings without lubrication in them. And then you kind of grab oil and put it around the piston too. Actually, before it's lubed, you gotta put the rod bearings on there, because it's after it's installed, it's kind of hard to put them on. So they go like this. Let me grab another one. Put it on the cap. See how on this side is straight, and then on this side it has this little lip that goes on this hole. Like that. Push it in. And then on the rod, there's this number right there, half a number right there. And then with the rod cap, you complete the number. That's how you know which way the cap on the rod goes. And you see those little markings on the bearings. That's how they're supposed to be. And I like to install the bolts on the rod. That way the cap doesn't fall out with the bearings. And you put your piston ring compressor. Make sure to install the piston with the arrow facing where the oil pump goes. This is real hard to do with one hand. Oh, there you go. So that's centered. Just kind of tap it in. And there you go. You remove your piston ring compressor tool. Set it to the side. turn the block around, and this won't fall because the piston is being held down with the piston rings. Now that that's there, you move the rod to the other side, move the crank back, and that way you can push the piston up and remove the cap. It's up all the way. You just remove the bolts and remove the cap. After you remove the cap, you grab some assembly lube, put some on the bearing, push the rod and piston down, it's kind of hard. And then turn the crank over to the top again. Slowly, you don't want to hit the bolt on the rod. There we go. This part's kind of hard. You just stick one hand on this side and the other one on this side and kind of pull it up. Careful not to scratch the crank with the bolts. Once it's up, you kind of spin the crank back a little bit. Right there. So you could put the the cap back on. Once the cap is on, you're ready to put the bolts back in. Or not the bolts, the nuts. After you have them on, it's time to torque them down to specs. The connection, rod, bearing, cap nuts. Step 1 for B18c1 is 14 foot-pounds. It's kind of hard to do it with one hand, but I have it to 14. And there's a 10, and then the little 4, that's 14. You pull it until you hear the clicking sound. That's the clicking sound. Then the second one, you want to rotate the crank so the nut is on this side, on that side of the block. And then same thing. Pull it. After that, you go to the second step. It says Step 2, B18c1, 33 foot-pounds. After that, you turn the block around again and then spin the crank to make sure everything spins freely. After that, if you want, you can check the compression. You stick your hand right here and cover the whole cylinder and then spin the crank. And you could hear it. And it also pulls your hand down really hard. And then after that, I already got 2 down. I'm just gonna do the last 2. And we're done with the pistons, rods, and piston rings. up, guys? So last night I forgot to record an outro, and it is now the next day, and basically we got the whole bottom end put together. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, subscribe, and like this video, and stay tuned for part 2. See you later.